In 1987, a small game company on the verge of bankruptcy called Square released their new RPG into the world. This game, of course, was Final Fantasy, and it would go on to become a pivotal game in the RPG genre for years to come, as well as begin one of the most popular series in gaming, spawning many more sequels and spin-offs over the years. And Final Fantasy would prove to be anything but final. That being said, these days I don't hear much about the one that started it all. Occasionally I see the Warrior of Light referenced, but that's about it. So I decided to chase the platinum for this game to see if it deserves any further recognition in the current era. There are several versions of this game, but I decided to go with the Pixel Remaster version as there is a trophy list, and it is the most relevant version of this game as of this recording. Final Fantasy has 24 trophies, including the platinum, and they can be divided into 3 categories. Story trophies, which are exactly as they sound, gameplay trophies, which are achieved by completing certain criteria, such as defeating a certain amount of enemies, and collectible trophies, which mostly involves finding every treasure chest and discovering particular items. The good news is that, unlike other games in the Pixel Remaster collection, none of the trophies are missable, so we won't need to worry about missing any key items along the journey. With that established, let's begin our quest. We start by naming our party members and giving them their roles. I decided to use the names and roles that were given to the 4 Warriors of Light in the novelization of this game titled Memory of Heroes. They are Cetro the Warrior, Zalva the Thief, Flora the White Mage, and Teol the Black Mage. The book also gives them personalities, as well as adding further context to the main villain's motivations if you're interested. When that's done, we see the opening cutscene showing that the crystals of the 4 elements went dark and are occupied by the 4 fiends. It also prophesizes that 4 Warriors of Light will emerge to save the world. That's where we come in, and start off the game in Cornelia, where we are tasked with saving the princess of that kingdom from the disgraced knight Garland. We head to the nearby Chaos Shrine and do so, and can now access the wider continent through the bridge, where a cutscene plays with the main theme, and our first trophy pops. We travel to the town of Pravoka and liberate it from the pirates terrorizing it, as well as acquiring their ship, which we can use to sail the seas. Shortly afterwards, a trophy popped for filling 10% of the bestiary. The bestiary is a glossary in the main menu of all the enemies we have defeated, and if we want the platinum, we'll have to defeat every enemy in the game to complete this bestiary. And shortly afterwards, we obtained a trophy for defeating 100 enemies. We sail to the south to a village of elves whose prince has fallen into a slumber, and a ruined castle where another prince is there asking for his missing crown. Nearby, we enter the Marsh Cave, which is a pain to go to as the main theme is poison, so stock up on antidotes for this area. While traversing it, we acquire another trophy for obtaining 10,000 gil. We find the crown at the end of the dungeon and head off to a ruined castle to give it to the prince, only to see he tricked us and he is actually the dark elf Astos. Defeating him gives us the Crystal Eye, which we give to the witch Matoya, who in turn gives us an antidote for the elf prince we saw in a slumber. Curing him, he gives us a mystic key which unlocks any door in the realm, including ones in the dungeons we've already visited. As you can see, we've mostly been doing fetch quests so far, and this will be a recurring theme for the rest of the game. While it can seem tedious, it was considered a breakthrough in 1987, and is still considered a step up from its contemporaries during that time. While finding all the chests in the Marsh Cave, I popped another trophy for defeating 300 enemies. I also popped another one shortly afterwards for opening 10% of the treasure chests in this game. In order to get the platinum, I'll need to open every chest in this game. Luckily, the world map tells you how many chests there are in each dungeon and how many you've found, so I'm not concerned. We travel back to Castle Cornelia and find TNT in one of the locked rooms we accessed with the Mystic Key, which we can then give to one of the dwarves in the Cave of the Dwarves so we can blow up a canal for us to travel through to the wider world. While still at sea, we also unlock a trophy for defeating 500 enemies this time. We then travel to the ruined city of Melmont, which has been greatly affected by the deterioration of the nearby Earth Crystal. While there, we buy and sell some equipment, which in turn pops a trophy for obtaining 50,000 gil. We travel to the Earth Cave, where we defeat a vampire, which gives us a star ruby, which we give to this golem so we can access Sage Sada's cave. The sage gives us a rod, which we use to access the deeper floors of the Earth Cave. While making our way down, we pop another trophy, this time for obtaining 100,000 gil. We reach the Earth Crystal, where it is being guarded by one of the 4 fiends, Lich. We defeat him, restore light to the crystal, and a story trophy unlocks. We then travel to Crescent Lake, where we meet 12 sages who give us additional story context, as well as a canoe, which we use to travel to Mount Golg, where the fire crystal is currently located. While traveling the dungeon, We unlock trophies for defeating 50% of the game's enemies and for opening 50% of the treasure chests. We reach the Fire Crystal where we battle the Fire Fiend. We defeat him to pop a trophy and restore light to the crystal. Exploring the continent further, we reach an ice cave which contains a lever stone that we can use to unlock an airship. So now we can travel to the northern continent. We reach the northern continent and enter the Citadel of Trials where we acquire the rat's tail at the end. That's enough to prove our courage to the King of Dragons Bahamut. As a result, he blesses all 4 Warriors of Light with permanent upgrades to the rolls, which pops another trophy. We continue our journey to the town of Onrak, where we can find the sunken shrine which contains the water crystal. We can't access it yet due to not having the right item that lets us breathe underwater. We obtain this item by first heading to the caravan in the desert and purchasing a fairy in a bottle. We then travel to the village of Gaia, where we release the fairy who gives us the item that lets us breathe underwater from the nearby pond. We can now breathe underwater, so we travel to the sunken shrine, where we take on the water fiend at the end called the Kraken. We defeat him and restore light to the water crystal, which unlocks another trophy. While in the sunken shrine, we also found an item called the Rosetta Stone, which will be useful shortly. We come across a village called Lufenia, where we can't understand anything they're saying. This is where the Rosetta Stone comes in which we need to bring it to a linguist in Melmond, who teaches us the language needed to speak to the people in Lufenia. We return to Lufenia, where the residents now explain to us that the final crystal is in a floating fortress in the sky, and the only way to access it is through the Mirage Tower. We are given the item we need to get in, which we do in the nearby desert. We climb the Mirage Tower and use a teleporter to reach the floating castle, where we unlock another trophy for travelling to all locations in the game. We make it through the castle, where we battle the final fiend Tiamat, who we defeat, and as a result restore light to the wind crystal, which pops another trophy. During our time in the floating castle, we found an item called adamantine, which we take to the dwarves, who craft the Excalibur sword, which is the most powerful one in the game, and also unlocks another trophy. After restoring all 4 elemental crystals, we discover that the source of the chaos is back in the Chaos Shrine, where we travel 2,000 years into the past for the final showdown. While in the final dungeon, we reach level 50, which unlocks another trophy, as well as unlocking another trophy for finding every treasure chest in the game. We reach the end of the dungeon to find out that the final boss is Garland, who was sent back in time by the 4 fiends, who in turn were sent forward from the past by Garland, creating a time loop in which he can live forever. He transforms into Chaos and the final battle begins. We defeat Chaos, ending the time loop and restoring peace to the world. We watch the credits roll and a trophy pops for beating the game. We had 2 trophies remaining, and one of them was for completing the bestiary. Luckily we only had 5 entries remaining, and 4 of them can be found in the overworld. The only one that was in a dungeon was Warmech, which we spent some time looking for in the Flying Castle, as he does have a low encounter rate. He did eventually spawn, and we defeated him quickly, which in turn unlocked the trophy for 100%ing the bestiary. The only remaining trophy was simply to complete the hidden minigame, which could have been done much earlier in all honesty. Anyway, we did that, and the trophy popped, followed by the platinum trophy. My journey was over. 10 hours later, and is Final Fantasy still worth it today? If I'm being truthful, I wouldn't rank this game among my personal favourites in the series. You won't necessarily get the most in-depth story or gameplay experience from this, especially in comparison to some of the later titles in the series. However, I can't deny how much charm this game has, as well as an amazing soundtrack too. It's a solid overall experience, and it was nice to fully experience the game that started it all. One thing to note is that supposedly to make this game the purest version, Square Enix removed additional content that was included in the GBA and PSP versions. It does bother me a little having played those versions before, and it feels like we're missing out on something here. I am aware that this would have made the journey to the Platinum longer and potentially more difficult, but I thought to mention it otherwise. Although it's not a deal breaker. Let me know in the comments if this bothers you. Trophy hunting wise, it's actually the easiest in the series and the shortest one to achieve. So if you are interested in the series origins or want a fairly easy platinum, I would actually say, go for it. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, you absolute legend, and good luck on your gaming journey. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more.